Sunday marks the last full day of Pope Francis's trip to Iraq. The pontiff visited the northern part of the country, including the autonomous Kurdish region. He was welcomed by the president and prime minister of the Kurdish regional government. The pontiff is the first Catholic pope to make a trip to Iraqi Kurdistan. Thousands of Christians live in the region, including many who found refuge there after ISIS massacred thousands of religious minorities across northern Iraq. For more, I want to bring in Ambassador Bayan Sami Abdul Rahman. She is the Kurdistan regional government representative to the United States. Ambassador Rahman, how has Pope Francis been received in the Kurdistan region?
Well, thank you for having me. He has been welcomed very, very warmly. There's a jubilation, I can say, in the Kurdistan region that His Holiness Pope Francis has visited not only other parts of Iraq, but the Kurdistan region as well, which has become a safe haven for Christians, Yazidis, and many others who have fled persecution. And as you mentioned, most recently they fled ISIS, who took over their towns, their villages, their province, and they have found safe haven in Kurdistan. And we were delighted that His Holiness the Pope took the trouble to visit Kurdistan and to hold or celebrate Mass in the stadium in Erbil.
Many Christians left the area when ISIS was in control. So how significant is the Pope's visit in terms of bringing refugees back into the region?
Well, it's certainly our hope that the Christians, Yazidis, and others will not continue to leave the country. It's their country as much as anybody else's. Historically, they go back thousands of years. And so it's a tragedy for all of us when they leave the country to take refuge in Europe or here in North America. So for us, it's very important that they stay, they maintain the mosaic that makes up Iraq and Kurdistan region within Iraq. And I think the visit of Pope Francis may have given them some hope that they are not forgotten, that Iraq is not always seen as the country of devastation and bloodshed, that with his visit, he has raised some hope. He has spoken about coexistence, brotherhood, brotherly love, and peace. And we hope that this will empower the Christians, Yazidis, and others in Iraq to stay, and certainly they can stay in Kurdistan region where they are safe.
It is a beautiful and an admirable message. I want to ask your opinion. Now that ISIS is gone, what do you think is next for the region and the people there?
Well, ISIS is gone in terms of the caliphate. As you know, a few years ago, they took over about a third of Iraqi territory and were able to hold that territory and committed genocide, as we know. The caliphate is finished. The territories were liberated by the Peshmerga, Iraqi forces, of course, with the invaluable and you can't even say invaluable, with the essential support of the coalition led by the United States. However, while the caliphate is finished, ISIS is not finished. There are still ISIS fighters or terrorists in Iraq and in Syria. And so both we in the Kurdistan region and Iraq and the coalition need to remain vigilant. And I'm very proud that we have a partnership with the United States that enables us to do that. But we do need the coalition to stay the course, maintain the vigilance for ISIS not to be able to return. Now, with that, I want to move on to things that are more positive. In the Kurdistan region, we really want to be able to rebuild our economy that took such a massive hit from the fight against ISIS. We hadn't quite recovered from that when COVID-19 came last year, and that has also devastated our economy as it has around the world. So first and foremost, we want to stay vigilant, make sure ISIS doesn't rebuild, and then rebuild our economy and make sure that Kurdistan region in Iraq remains a welcoming place both for business, for tourism, and for anybody who wants to visit.
So something really remarkable happened in this trip. Pope Francis met with Iraq's most influential Shiite Muslim leader. It was the first ever meeting between a Catholic pope and a Shiite Grand Ayatollah in Iraq. What do you make of that summit? And can you put into perspective for us how monumental the meeting was?
Well, it's historic. As far as I'm aware, as you said, this is the first ever, and that has its own significance. The other significance is that Ayatollah Sistani, for the Shia community in Iraq, and the Shia make up perhaps 55% of Iraq's population. The rest are Sunni Arabs and Kurds, who are also by majority Sunni. So Ayatollah Sistani is not only the spiritual leader of more than half of Iraq's population, he is also the spiritual leader of many Shia outside of Iraq. So this was very, very significant. And with the message of peace and brotherly love and coexistence that Pope Francis brought to Iraq, it was significant that he met with Ayatollah Sistani. And as we could see in the video clip, Ayatollah Sistani lives in a very humble home and met Pope Francis there. But it was extremely significant despite the humble surroundings. I think the importance of that brief meeting of about 40 minutes will echo and reverberate around the Shia world, and I would argue around Islam as well in general.
Well, before we let you go, Ambassador, women across the globe will celebrate International Women's Day on Monday. What role are women playing in Kurdish politics?
Well, we've made enormous strides forward in Kurdistan region towards promoting women's rights, towards equality. Of course, we're not there yet, 100%. We can't compare ourselves to Finland, for example, or New Zealand. However, Kurdish women have historically played a prominent role in political life in other aspects of society. And today we have women in our cabinet. We have 2 representatives abroad who are women. I have a colleague in Italy and the Vatican also. She represents the KRG there. And then in our parliament, we have 30% quota in our parliament for women. So we've made huge strides, and women are seen in public life, and we're very proud of that. But of course, we want to do much more and achieve much more.
Well, what a wonderful privilege to have you on our show and to give us a glimpse into an area and issues that many of us know so little about. Ambassador Bayan Sami Abdul Rahman, thank you.
Thank you for having me.